We're standing here at the Stable and Hay Storage Building of the Pennsylvania Lumber Museum. And this building would have been very important in a typical Pennsylvania lumber camp because horses were a very important part of the composition of the camp. If there were 50 to 100 men in camp, there would have been about half as many horses. And they were used for a variety of tasks, but probably most importantly was for skidding logs. So if you're cutting down trees on the side of the hill, you need to get the logs from the side of the hill down to the bottom of the hill where the railroad siding is, where they can be transported to the mill. And teams of horses were used to accomplish that task. That's why we're so thankful to Steve Perrine, who is a volunteer and demonstrator at Bark Peelers Festival and also a member of the museum board of directors. He brings his horses to Bark Peelers Festival every year to demonstrate how that type of work was done so that we can keep those traditions of lumber history alive and show folks what it was like to work in the industry back in the day.
I'm Steve Perrine from Bear Hill Horse Logging, and I am a horse logger. I cut and skid and sell logs for landowners with only using horsepower with a team of horses for low impact purposes, selective cuts, stuff like that. That's our specialty. Wet areas where you couldn't take a machine, but mainly timber stand improvement, woodlot improvement type cuts, selective cuts is what we do, what we specialize in. I grew up with Arabian horses, but I was never one to be interested in riding a whole lot. It didn't stick with me. I love the animals, but when I saw my first heavy workhorse, I believe it was a Belgian when I was a little kid, I was hooked. You know, I wanted big horses. And my dad was almost like a mountain man. Now, he wasn't a logger himself, but we cut a lot of firewood as a family. Friends of the family logged and whatnot because of where I lived, you know, in the God's country region, and it just kind of meshed. I live for the woods, and I love the big horses, and it just kind of, you know, that's how it happened, basically. I knew when my parents never got me a big horse. They always said they were thinking of doing it, but they had light breed horses, and so I always said as soon as I got out my own, I could have my own horses. I was going to accumulate teams of horses, and that's exactly what happened. So that's kind of how it went. Basically a day in the life of a horse logger. When you get up in the morning, now it depends on whether you have horses waiting on you on the job, whether they're camped on the job, or like say today's Monday or today's Tuesday, it's Memorial Day weekend, sorry. The first day of the week, I brought horses here this morning. So I got up, I don't know, around 4 a.m. because this job's pretty close to home, about 40-minute drive. So I got up around 4 a.m., fed the horses, let them stand for an hour, make sure they had plenty of hay and water before I got ready to trailer them. I either put their harness on, or in this case their harness was here in a tool trailer, so I just load them after they have their time, and I get my lunch ready and head to the job with them. So when I get to the job, I harness them in this morning's case, or if they have their harness on, back them off the trailer. I bridle them, put their lines on, and hook them to the log arch and make sure my saws are sharp and gassed up, and we head back into the woodlot to where we're going to cut and skid. Sometimes we already have a job underway, like this job. I'll have a hitch or a tree on the ground, or sometimes I don't. The horses stand and wait while I go, you know, I keep them a safe distance away, and I go cut a tree or cut a hitch up, or we back into an existing hitch, hook it, skid it out, and that's pretty much what we do all day is cut and skid logs. You skid it out to the landing, which is an area where a truck can load and you drop them, and of course you roll them in with a cant hook maybe to keep them nice and tight so the truck can back in and load easy. That's basically the day of logging, a day of logging with horses. That's the meat of it. But then at the end of the day, when you're done cutting and skidding for the day in the evening, like in this time of year, it stays light till 9 o'clock. It depends on whether I'm keeping horses on the job or trailering them home, how late I work, but I'll work till 5:30, 6 o'clock usually. And if they're camped here on the job for the week, when I'm done, I unharness them, take them off the cart, unharness them, let them cool, put them in their pens so they have a shelter, and I make sure they have plenty of water and hay, let them eat their hay for a while, and I drain them for the evening. And then I make sure they're topped off with water and hay before I leave for the evening. And in a case where I'm trailering them home, once they're cool, they usually wear their harness back and forth if I'm trailering them every day, and I just trailer them home. But when I get home with a team of horses for the night, my job's far from done. You have to peel their harness off, settle them in, wait for them to eat a little bit of hay, and then give them their grain for the night. And if they're turned out or whatever, if they're turned out or being set up with hay for the night. So that's basically what the day is in the life of a horse logger. The things that I love about my job are, number one, being able to work with animals, work with these big horses, which I've loved since I was little. Working with them every day, one-on-one, cutting trees. I love to cut trees. And just being in the woods. Being in beautiful country all the time. You're working by yourself. Once in a while you're working with somebody else. It's rare that I have a cutter, and we have a good time when I do. But on my own jobs, I'm always working by myself. I enjoy that. It's just, I love every part about it. There's not much I don't love about it. But you end up, when you work for yourself doing this, when you're a one-man band, you do a little bit of everything. You cut, skid, but aside from that, you weld, you're chasing parts down all the time, you're a glorified grunt. But I love every aspect of it, and also the paperwork and business aspect of it, selling the logs, dealing with getting trucks in, the landing. You have to enjoy all of it. It can be a rat race, but I do love it. I love it like nothing else.